Everyone thinks that more money will fix all of their problems, but any lottery winner will tell you that coming into money brings more than financial freedom. It also brings the possibility of strained relationships, loss of privacy, and sometimes even attempted murder. There's even a name for the significant emotional or psychological challenges that come along with winning the lottery: sudden wealth syndrome. Can winning the lottery actually change your life for the better, or are winners guaranteed to become the next victim of sudden wealth syndrome? You're listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with Rachael and Roxanne.
Hi, Rachel. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Roxanne?
Wishing that I won the lottery so I could test this theory out for myself.
I know. I am all about the science. I would love to give it a try.
Absolutely. Quality control is important. My high school algebra teacher won the lottery.
Oh, I know. We talked about that briefly in another episode.
Yeah, and because he was young, he just took out the annuity and just made an extra $35,000 a year. But that let him do a lot of wonderful stuff. When school wasn't in session. So good for him. He was a nice guy. I liked him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Mr. Venosi, if you're watching.
And this documentary is a little bit different. This is actually a podcast about a bunch of documentaries all pulled together. But the lady who did this, what was her name? Bailey
Sarian.
Bailey Sarian.
If you guys are not subscribed to Bailey's channels on YouTube, you need to. She's a true crime nut. She does something called dark history, things you don't learn in school,
And she's fascinating to listen to. She makes it fun.
Yes.
So
yes.
highly recommend.
Yes.
But yeah, so this documentary, or her podcast about these other documentaries, was essentially about why winning the lottery is not as awesome as you think it's gonna be,
Right.
and about the overall negatives, the sudden wealth syndrome of it all.
Sure.
And she made this in 2024. You want to tell us what was going on in 2024?
By all means. In 2024, the 33rd Summer Olympics were held in Paris. Hurricane Helene causes $10 billion in damage and kills 230 people. And one of my cousins actually became homeless because of Hurricane Helene.
I know.
Yeah. On the lighter side, the first annual Timothy Chalamet lookalike contest was held.
I lost.
I'm sure. Yeah. And a rare total solar eclipse happened on April 8th.
Oh, and I bet everybody remembers that. We all bought the glasses on Amazon
and went
out. We watched the solar eclipse. I took my daughter out, and she was like, "All right, this is a long time to be standing out here." And I was like, "But it's important. It's science.
It's an astrological. No, never mind. I can't say a word. Phenomenon."
But so Bailey starts her podcast talking about Abraham Shakespeare.
A wonderful name.
Yeah, he was a lottery winner in Florida. He won $17 million.
And this is the first time Florida man has done anything decent.
And he came into all of this money, and he got conned into basically fraudulent bookkeeping by a woman named Dee Dee, who approached him and offered to be his money manager and was going to write a book about him. And she makes this big deal out about how she can help him. And he agreed, and then he went missing.
Suspicious.
Yes. And I don't know if you are familiar with the larger story of Abraham Shakespeare.
I am not.
Here, give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull it up so I have the details here, because I don't want to talk out of my ass any more than is necessary.
Any more than we usually do.
Yeah, it looks like actually he won $30 million and received a total payout of $17 million. So he won a $30 million lottery. He got $17 million. That was in 2006. And if you've seen, there are a couple of documentaries and true crime shows that include his story in them. And he came into all this money and basically didn't know how to tell people no.
Yeah.
So, like, if his friends wanted something, they got something, and, like, he was dealing with all of this stuff. He was trying to be the person he had always been. He came into this money,
Mm.
and it's funny because it looks like, there was an issue according on Wikipedia. It says that, it was Abraham Shakespeare and his coworker, a guy named Michael Ford, who were on their way to Miami. They stopped at a convenience store to buy drinks and cigarettes, and his coworker, Michael Ford, got out of the truck and asked Abraham Shakespeare if he wanted a soda. And Shakespeare said, "No, just buy me a couple lottery tickets."
Huh, huh.
And so Shakespeare said he paid Ford the $2 for the tickets out of the $5 that he handed him that day. And then later, of course, Michael Ford turned around and demanded $1 million out of the money because he was the one who technically bought it.
Or a handling fee,
Uh, uh,
administrative costs.
he is alleging that he bought the ticket and Abraham Shakespeare stole them out of his wallet.
Oh.
And so this is just the beginning of this all the negative shit that happens when you win the lottery. If
Mhm.
you do not go into it with some kind of plan of, okay, I'm going to have a financial advisor and I'm going to speak to an attorney and I'm going to have all of this in place before I even go cash in the ticket.
Right, right.
So of course, because they turned this into a whole thing and he's being, accused of theft by his coworker, and it ended up going to court, and the court believed Abraham over Ford.
Right, right.
And but he still had to pay the legal fees to go through all of this stuff
Of course.
and deal with the loss of his friend, and it's a whole thing.
It's like
And
a
then
terrible harbinger of doom.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he moved out of his home. He had been living in Lakeland, Florida. I know a couple of people who live in Lakeland, Florida,
Mhm.
and it's not far from Orlando, kind of it's that area. And I don't know when the last time you were in Florida was.
It was before COVID, so probably 18 or 19.
So in 2024, I was in COVID in this area, in the, Orlando area to do Disney with my daughter.
Right.
And Florida has become kind of this weird hellscape
Yeah.
where, like, driving down the highway to get from one place to another, there are literally homeless people living in tents pitched on the side of the highway.
On the side of the interstate?
Yeah,
Oh my
on the
God.
side of the interstate.
That's supposed to be very noisy for them. Why would they pick there to put
Because
down stakes?
that's the only place that they could find, and they're not actually putting down stakes anywhere. They are just looking for a place where they can sleep for 4 or 5 hours before they have to pick up and move to go to the next location. And so it is just ever present in this area. There's poverty and kind of fighting for money, and in the happiest place on earth. That's what is happening. And so he left that area. He bought a house in a gated community. And he really hadn't purchased a ton. He bought himself a car and he bought himself a Rolex. But other than that, he really didn't purchase a lot. He was more focused on, like, spending money on the people that he loved. But he was dealing with hangers on and strangers and people who now wanted to be friends with him and he had the money. And
Relatives coming out of the woodwork.
And Bailey talked in the thing, she gave a quote from him, "I would have been better off broke," is what he told his brother. And he had no idea when he said that how much better off he would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these people he'd always thought of as his friends, he realized all they wanted was his money. And then one of those people was Dee Dee Moore, who she had kind of stuck herself to him like glue. She was running a business with him and writing a book about him and managing his funds. And she was using his funds to pay herself a salary. And so she bought herself a Hummer and a Corvette and a truck, and she took long vacations. And she kept telling anybody who asked, she kept saying, "Well, this money is a gift from my friend."
Oh, okay.
Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the gifts stopped coming and he started to figure out what was going on, she fucking murdered him.
Yes.
Because of course she did.
Because of course she did. Yes.
And so his family reported him missing in November of 2009. They hadn't seen him since April, so they had given him some time to, like, because if somebody disappears, you don't want to immediately call the police. You want to give them the space to process what they're going through.
Assume foul play right away.
And so then they did start to assume it. And Dee Dee led this whole thing where she was telling the police that he decided he was so mad that everybody just wanted his money that he moved to the Caribbean and that he didn't want people to find him.
Mm.
And it was only a tip from somebody that she knew that led the investigators to find his body buried under her house or like in her yard or whatever. Um, and when he died, he was 42 years old.
Oh man. Well, how did they find him in her yard?
Well, she had involved somebody, a friend, in the, this is what's going on, and so he became suspicious
Oh, I see.
that Abraham had gone missing, and she was all panicked, and she was looking for ways to cover this up. She kept trying to use this friend as her,
Mediator?
not necessarily mediator, but her, what do you call it when you have an excuse for, I couldn't have done that crime, I was with that person.
Alibi?
Yes, her alibi.
Oh, yeah.
This person was trying to be her alibi, or she wanted them to be her alibi, and they were like, "You need me to be an alibi for a lot of murderous sounding things."
Sounding, I love that.
And so they turned her in, and she had just poured a concrete slab over the area where his body was buried when the police came looking.
Rookie mistake.
So yeah, this was the story that Bailey opened her documentary on, and I was thrilled because I actually knew something about this story, and it goes to show just how dangerous coming into a lot of money can be if you are not prepared for it, and if you don't go into it with like the thought that I need to be, thoughtful and useful and processing the way I'm going to handle all of this. If you're just like, yeah, I got a bunch of money, people are going to rip you apart. They're going to take your money. Somebody's going to kill you for it. Like, it's coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when somebody disappears and they ask, did he have any enemies? Who has enemies, really, except for like mafia dons, drug kingpins, and really important people, and people who win the lottery, apparently.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the things that she talked about that I really liked in her podcast was about how people can kind of trick themselves into feeling good about playing the lottery because part of the money goes back into supporting the state.
Right.
So like 35 cents out of every dollar spent on tickets goes back into state projects, which if you've ever known anybody who is an addict or has an addictive like process, yeah, you know when they're standing there being like, well, I need this bottle of vodka. Because for the like they're justifying in their head why this is
5 cents will go back to the state.
Yeah, like or it's just somebody who's like in an addictive thrall, so to speak.
Yeah,
they will gladly. Well, I should spend $400 a month on the lottery because if I don't, like that 35 cents doesn't go to the
to the roads, to the schools, or whatever. Right?
Yeah, it is a weird a weird self-justification of why my horrible behavior is fine.
There you go.
But the lottery is actually a lot older than most people think. You want to go into a little bit of her?
Sure, just so that okay. All right. The very first lottery that we know of was mentioned in the Bible. One of the Gospels refers to the guards and the Pharisees taking Jesus's garments off of him from the cross and casting lots for them. And the word lots is where we get the word lottery from. So let's see. The first lottery in the United States was in the 1610s with the Jamestown settlers and the Virginia Company for 4,000 crowns. I know not how many 4,000 crowns would equal today. And then gambling just took off. And there were even early versions of those scratch off lottery tickets.
Oh, yeah, she talked about how they were covered in wax, and you
Yes.
could use, like, a buttered cloth to wipe away the wax to
Yeah.
see what was underneath.
Because we all carry buttered cloths with us at all times.
Well, maybe that was more of a thing back in the day? I don't know.
Maybe. And those proceeds from the ticket sales, they went to new roads, new schools, and businesses. And even the founding fathers had numerous lotteries to finance various new businesses. So we're looking at George Washington, John Hancock, and Jefferson. Now what's interesting is anybody at that point could buy a lottery ticket, even slaves. And one of the things that one of the slaves did was buy his own freedom. Which yay, good, good for him. He wasn't able to take his family with him, unfortunately. And the lottery saw a bit of a downturn in the 1880s because of the temperance movement. It declared the lottery to be sinful and bad, and they really lost their crap in 1887. They said there was too much extra spending. They wanted the money to go to the church. Not, if you're going to spend money on the lottery, you can afford to donate it to the church. And they were actually declared illegal nationwide, except for Delaware and Louisiana for some reason. Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny because temperance movements and this, we need to have these, alcoholism and lotteries and gambling and all this, it all is sinful and should be declared illegal, stems from a good place.
Yeah.
Where back in a time when women had no control over their own finances and they were kind of shackled to whatever dude that paid them attention enough to get them to marry him.
Right.
They had husbands who would get paid and walk into the bar and drink away their paychecks before they even came home.
Yeah.
Or who would buy up lottery tickets or gamble away that money.
Mm-hmm.
And so the temperance movement happened largely because this was the only source of income women had and men were squandering it. And so they used what power they could. They came together. They created coalitions to try to push to end these behaviors that was destroying life and leaving women in poverty.
Wow.
Like for hundreds of years, women had dealt with this. And it became kind of a movement at that time. So it comes from a good place, like this wanting to help people and not allow people to financially abuse them and all that. But like so many things, it just turned into this insanity. It became...
I'm sure a lot of the husbands were spending it on prostitutes as well.
Like, just the men at the time had this idea that I earn the money, it's mine, and whatever I bring home afterwards is left for you. But that afterwards that's left for you has to feed the children and pay the rent.
And
pay
groceries.
Yeah, it has to cover all that stuff. And so I don't know. Have you ever read Angela's Ashes?
No, I do not.
It is a fantastic book, and it's set in Ireland. And a huge part of the problem that his mother goes through, because this is Frank McCourt, who is a Irish-American author. He came here, he was born in Ireland, and he came to the United States in his 20s. But it's the story of him growing up as an impoverished child in impoverished parts of Ireland.
Sure.
And about how his mom would send him to the bar to find his dad and drag him out of the bar.
Oh, boy.
Because his dad was drinking away the whole paycheck. And like how his mother would have to go stand in line outside of like the local church and beg for scraps, literal scraps. At one point for a major holiday, I don't remember if it was Christmas or Easter, but for some major holiday, they were given a literal sheep's head. That's what they were given. And she had to figure out how to prepare that.
I wouldn't know how to prepare a sheep's head.
Yeah. But because his dad was just, he couldn't hold down a job. And when he did have a job, he was drinking his pay away. So that's kind of where all of this movement to push away from this came from. And then, of course, anytime you make something illegal, what happens?
Oh, more and more people want to do it. Oh,
and the mafia
stepped in. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, the mafia takes over the lotteries, and it becomes this. Well, if you can't do it legally, now it's illegal, and you still want to do it. We're going to take that up and let you do that with us.
Right.
And you have a lovely little note here about your
Yes, my dad in 1942, he was 12 and he ran the numbers. He didn't know he was doing it though. The wealthy people in charge of the racket uh, told my dad to be a go-between between him and the consumers and all that. And I said, "Dad, didn't you realize this was organized crime?" And he's like, "I was 12." He was happy because the head mafioso would give him a dime every week so he could go to the movies and get through the two movies and the cartoon and the newsreel. He was good for the whole day. So yeah, that was my dad's first real job, running the numbers for the mob in Philadelphia. You go, Dad.
And then just like everything that gets taken over by the mafia or other illegal channels, the government eventually wants to
Yeah.
get back to rest out it.
Right.
So the lottery became legal again, and it spread to I'm pretty sure it's legal in every state at this point.
It is legal in every state.
And so supermarkets started selling scratchers to housewives in the 1960s. And then that sort of became how you played the lottery kind of in
Yeah.
the 60s and 70s. Um, and then at that point, like I remember being a kid
Mhm.
and we got scratch off lottery tickets in our stockings and stuff.
Oh,
It was
nice.
and kids love that.
Like,
That, "Oh my god, I could win so much," and they get all excited in
right.
their head. And for, like, a long time, when I didn't have a ton of money to give gifts at the holidays, you got a card with a couple of scratch-offs
Yeah.
tickets in there, in hopes that maybe you would win something big.
Win like $12 or something. It's a thrill for a kid to win anything,
Yeah.
you know?
So, yeah, that kinda became standard, lottery approach. But, that the other state like Powerball and Mega Millions and stuff,
Right.
slowly became a thing because there was a point where in the 70s and 80s, lottery was by state. Each individual state had their own lottery. And then the Powerball was introduced. I don't remember exactly when it was introduced. It was late 90s, early
I
2000s.
was in graduate school, so it was 90s.
And that became like a national lottery, and it was a big deal
Yeah.
because at a state lottery, you could win a couple $1,000,000, but it wasn't gonna get huge.
Right.
The national lottery, having everybody buying into it, that creates some giant jackpots. Up into now we're seeing them in the billions.
Right. And it also unfortunately creates gigantic liability because I can understand some people with an addictive personality, dropping hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the Powerball, and thus ruining their life for the next month because they can't make rent, they can't feed their families. It's just that fierce, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. I know I'm gonna win. And I also, what else did I find out? The only state in the union that has a limit on lotteries and lottery winnings is Utah because of the strong Mormon population. Mormons do not believe in the lot. Well, they believe in it. It's not Santa Claus. They don't exist, but they don't approve of it. It's much like drinking alcohol. So if you go to Utah, you're gonna have a little more of a problem. Yeah, play the lottery.
And then, yeah, so at that point, Bailey started talking about how people want to be kept anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And how that really you try your best, but
Oh, exactly. If I suddenly showed up at a friend's house with a new Lamborghini and a Prada bag and all that, they're gonna wonder.
but even like some people show up in Halloween costumes or
Fun.
masks or like trying to disguise themselves to
You would
collect
do
their
that.
winnings.
Your family would do that. What with a mask?
I mean,
Halloween costume.
yeah, I can definitely see us doing that, though. We've actually talked about it because we only buy lottery tickets when the pot gets above $250 million or more. Because otherwise, you're just throwing money into the system for like it's fun to spend $25 a year,
Yeah.
$50 a year to say, oh, what fun we would have if we won all this money. But you don't want to be, you know,
Right.
wasting all of your money on that. But we've talked in detail about, okay, so if we won, we would need to sit down with a lawyer and a financial advisor before we cashed in the ticket. And we've actually talked about creating like a fund where a portion of that money would go and all of our loved ones would get a line item on it. And once we figured out how many people and what amount of money that was,
Off.
that then we would just write them a check at the very beginning. Hey, we won the lottery. Here's your $5,000 or whatever. do not ask us for another dime.
I'm waiting for my 5 grand.
Well, when we win.
Okay,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
good to
But like we figured out that, the best approach would be to set aside money, figure out everybody that you want to give it to,
Mhm.
figure out how much you're willing to spend for that, and then just give it up front. Don't make people come to you.
Right,
Make them
right,
ask.
right.
And then that way, when people come to you and they're like, but I need more. No, I already gave you yours.
Right. See,
If,
look, here's the ledger.
yeah. So that kind of cuts that off. And then that way, anybody who comes to you asking for money, well, I already gave out the money I was going to give. So
Right, right.
if you didn't get it, that's your own.
There's actually lottery insurance. I found this out because because I know you'd want to know. Convenience stores that sell lottery tickets, the machines that the tickets come out of, whether it's behind the counter or the kiosk, the the business owners don't own those. The lottery commission owns those.
Right.
So if you have a business and you want a lottery kiosk, you have to pay a great deal of insurance premiums. That's really all I know about it. But that's why a lot of convenience stores don't have that, because the mom and pop convenience stores can't afford the enormous lottery insurance every year.
Yep.
So good to know.
And so then at that point, she started talking about some other lottery winners. And she talked about Bud Post. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Bud Post?
Yeah, let's talk about Bud Post. Okay, in 1988, poor Bud had less than $5 in the bank, and miraculously, he won $16.2 million. And he bought an entire used car lot, not a used car, the whole lot. And where was I? Where was I? Oh, thank you. Yes, and he bought a restaurant and a plane. And within 3 months, he was $500,000 in debt. But that wasn't the end of Bud's problems. Bud's brother hired a hitman to take Bud out, but Bud had no money left because he was divorcing his sixth wife. So yeah,
That makes excellent decisions.
well, yes, but yeah, absolutely, sixth wife. So Bud ended up himself shooting a guy that showed up his house, who was asking to be paid for fixing one of Bud's many cars, and Bud claims it was an accident.
And yeah, then Bud's landlady claims she was promised half the money. And like he ended up getting arrested for murder.
Right.
And he ended up dying alone in 2006.
Oh my God, poor Bud. And he was arrested onto his sailboat. I can just see him, there. Yeah, for killing the mechanic. And Bud died alone. Yes.
Well, there is this weird thing that normal people, when you get beyond a certain amount of money, it feels infinite.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much you have. For some people, more than like $500,000 might feel just like unending money.
Yeah.
And for some people, it may be 50 million. But there is, in everybody's head, a point at which money becomes a concept that is unending. And when you have a certain amount of money, it feels like, oh, I can buy anything and everything I've always wanted forever and ever. Amen. Because I have unending money.
Right. People don't invest it. They get carried away with that immediate gratification of buying cars and boats and planes and all of that. They don't sit down with a money guy, to talk about investments and portfolios and all this, that, and the other thing.
Yep. And so with that kind of thing, Bud got handed $16 million. And I can tell from the decisions he made,
Yeah.
Bud's eternal money number was below $16 million.
Right.
Because he just started spending like there was no end.
Constantly left and right. Yes.
Like at a used car lot.
Why would you want that?
Like, I've never had a good experience at a used car lot.
No.
And that's never been pleasant. I've never looked at that and thought, man, I would love to have that be part of my life
Right.
in a real way.
Daily basis.
So I don't know what he was thinking of there. And a plane.
Which he can't fly himself.
Like, even if he was taking pilot's lessons, it makes infinitely more sense to rent a plane or
go somewhere.
To go someplace and do that rather than trying to own your own. Owning your own plane is like just, you need people to know you have this money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that is.
Right, yeah. And owning your own plane is a lot more expensive than just buying the plane outright. You've got insurance, of course, to mechanics, gassing it up, the people to fly it, final the flight. Oh my God. Yeah, Bud had issues.
And clearly impulse issues because he was married 6 times.
I wonder how many of those wives were after the money. I don't know how many times he'd been married before he won the lottery, but
I'm assuming at least the 6th wife.
oh, definitely.
Probably the 5th and 4th too, if I'm guessing.
Mm.
Because what woman's like, oh, you've been married 5 times, you're the one for me.
You're
like
a good risk.
so yeah, he had some impulse control issues. He had people that were clamoring after this money, women who probably were marrying him after he won it, his brother who tried to kill him. Like, this is part of why you have to sit down with an expert and make a plan.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're just going to buy car lots and planes and be murdered by your brother.
I know. It's going to end badly.
Yeah. So poor Bud. Like, he's one who his life would have been better had he not won the lottery.
Right.
And then we got to learn about Papa Nick, who, if you're not in Pennsylvania or the Pittsburgh area, you may not ever have heard of him.
I did not hear of him before this.
But he was a TV host, personality who pulled the lottery numbers, or like hosted the pulling of the lottery numbers on TV in Pittsburgh in 1974. And because he was like upfront with it, he saw all of how it worked and he got to touch all the pieces, created a robbery scheme that it was called, oh, what was it? It was the something 6 fix. It was let me see. I'm going to pull it up. The 666 fix. He created this scheme that was called the 666 fix. And he was trying to rig the numbers at the lottery end, not like faking a ticket, but to control which numbers were pulled. And do you want to tell us about how he decided he was going to rig this game?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay. Gravity is your friend, apparently, with this. What he did was he bought some ping pong balls and injected with a hypodermic needle some white paint in all of the numbers that he did not want to pop up. And as a result of this, when, in the lottery machines, when it would, blow the ping pong balls up, it would blow the ping pong balls up of the numbers that he wanted, that he paid for. Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't trying to get it to rig exact numbers.
Right.
What he did was he weighted down everything but the 4 and the 6. So, and the lottery in Pittsburgh at that time, it would pull 3 numbers. You only had to match 3. And so he weighted down everything but the 4 and the 6. And then he hired some friends to go out and buy lottery tickets at every single like convenience store, gas station, like all of it, where you could participate in the lottery. Every combination of 4 and 6 that could create a 3-digit number.
Because that's not going to be obvious. He didn't think it through.
And she even showed the TV clip of when they were pulling those numbers. Yep. That when he had rigged the system and the numbers as they were being pulled and put.
She had that clip. And
of course, I'm sure religious people were going nuts about it. He pulled the number 666.
How wonderful. We should have put this in our Satanic Panic podcast a couple weeks ago.
Well, this was in 1984 is when he did this. So this was in the middle of the Satanic Panic.
Oh, that's right.
And
boy,
God. 666 in the lottery machine during the Satanic Panic. And then having that turn out to be like this giant scheme. I'm sure that fueled many a crazy person in the 1980s.
Absolutely.
But he got himself caught because his friends did not restrict themselves to just legal purchases.
Right.
They also played into mafia lottery, underground lottery with these numbers. And the bookies, who were not computer systems, they were actual physical people taking these bets, smelled a rat.
They don't like that.
And then he ended up getting arrested, including his friends and the security guy at the lottery office who
Yeah.
let him switch out the ping pong balls.
Mhm.
Like they all got arrested and served some time. But yeah, this was a huge attempt to rig the lottery.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason why the lottery gets more and more complex. So it started, there were three numbers, and then it moved to five, and then it moved to six, and then it moved to six plus the
That's the
Powerball, and then it moved to like,
Right.
and so they're expanding it out to lower the chances that you're going to win the lottery, but also to make it harder to fix the lottery.
Yeah.
Because maybe you can get a hold of all of ping pong balls, but you can't control the Powerball number.
Right.
Or like that. So they're trying to build in fail safes into this system.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and then apparently there's like $9 billion
Yeah.
in
Online
unclaimed.
lottery winnings somewhere floating around.
That is
How do you do that? Who doesn't come forth? Well, it's possible that the winner died once, maybe.
yeah.
I mean,
I've seen Waking Ned Divine. I know how that works.
Oh my God, I remember that movie. That's awesome. I need to watch that.
Oh, I own it. We
Okay, okay.
It's such a good movie. One of my favorites.
It is.
But yeah, so there's $9 billion in unclaimed lottery winnings kind of floating around. What's going on with that money?
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, can they declare it, this is no longer available to the winner and then funnel that into Social Security or into the schools or
Yeah.
like some.
I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on claiming a lottery win. That's an interesting question.
If you know, please leave us a comment
Yes.
because we would love to know about if there's a statute of limitations and what could be done with this $9 billion.
And if you have the $9 billion, please leave us a comment and give us your phone number.
Yeah, and apparently, like, public schools have received across the country more than $40 billion from lottery proceeds, which sounds like a huge amount of money, but it's so strange because the lottery helping to fund the public schools is part of the right-wing attempt to defund and kind of shitify education.
Oh, shitify. I like that. As a verb. Nice.
Yeah, it's the end-shitification of the public
even better.
schools. Because over time, like there was a point when schools got solid money and teachers were well paid. And then as the far right started to gain political power and kind of pull that apart, schools were defunded. You were expected to do as much or more than you've been doing with less funding and less availability, less supplies. And so this was kind of one of those stopgaps of, well, we don't need to charge taxes and have increase people's taxes to pay the schools. Why don't we just have a lottery and funnel some of that money? And it's an attempt to control funding in that weird way and kind of justify taking away money in other places.
It's money laundering in some instances. Yeah.
So it's definitely like it's nice that the schools are getting money from the lottery, but it's not coming from a good place, unfortunately. But yeah, so we've got a whole list of crimes committed by Papa Nick.
It's time for me to play Count the Felonies again.
Roxanne's favorite game.
It is. It's wonderful. Okay, here's what Papa Nick was arrested for and prosecuted for and convicted of: criminal conspiracy, perjury, criminal mischief, theft by deception, and rigging a public contest, which I didn't even know was a thing, but apparently it is.
So yeah, there was some crime committed, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Lucky Numbers from 2000, but apparently this was that movie was based on this situation.
It was the story of this situation. It is hilarious. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And it's got like a stellar cast. It's got John Travolta before he got all weird on us. Tim Roth, Ed O'Neill, Lisa Kudrow, Richard Schiff. It's wonderful and it's really funny. And yeah, it doesn't end well, but that's okay. Neither did real life either.
So there is a new lottery movie based on a real life lottery event.
Okay.
Called Jerry and Marge Go Large.
Oh dear. Okay.
And it is the most fun story. It is Bryan Cranston and Annette Bening,
Oh, I love her.
and it is the story of this retired math teacher or accountant. He had a math-based job. I forget exactly what it was he did. Um,
Was it Mr. Venosi?
but well, this was in Michigan, so
Oh no, it's not.
but he figured out that there were only so many combinations of numbers that could be purchased. And they used the math that he ran to buy up lottery tickets in every possible combination that was going to potentially win.
Okay.
And they ended up winning the lottery, like big.
Really?
Um, and
How
they
much did
were
they lay out for that though? That must have been an enormous investment.
so the actual amount here, I'm gonna pull it up now.
All right.
But it's essentially it's a statistical loophole that basically guarantees you a win during what was called a roll down week, when there was no grand prize winner for long enough that instead of the jackpot continuing to grow, it was just distributed to the next tier of winners.
Mhm.
And so they emptied their savings to invest in the lottery tickets. And because they didn't want to win, they didn't want to come out with that top number. They wanted to have a bunch of second tier winners.
Oh, like if you have 5 numbers or 4 numbers, you
Right.
still win the lottery, but much smaller amounts.
So when those roll down happened, they would have 150 tickets that all were receiving payout from
I
this
see.
lottery.
That's legal. That's not illegal.
Oh, it wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that caught George and Marge. What are their names?
Jerry and Mark.
Mary and Marge. Oh, oh my God.
But they weren't the only ones doing it. And the reason they got caught was because there was a frat house of STEM kids
Oh my God.
who were also running the same scam. And
That's great.
they started to butt heads against each other, and they were pushing against. So their overall situation became like much bigger than it was because they weren't the only ones running the scam.
Right.
It's a very fun movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on Paramount Plus,
Okay.
and it's probably out to other channels at this point too. But it's a fun watch.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the lottery, finding ways to rig the lottery and play, and even like the very first time that the Powerball got to $1 billion or more, um, my family and I were living in Massachusetts, and we had a friend who was like, "I've got some time. I'm gonna pull every set of winning lottery numbers for the last like whatever it was, 15 or 20 years," and we went through and we found the numbers that get picked the most. And we played those numbers, and we did not win anything, but we got free numbers on almost every ticket.
Hey.
So, like, it was a solid approach. Had we had the time and wherewithal to sit down and try to tinker with it, probably that could have turned into something. But yeah, it was one of those things where, like, you could mathematically improve your chances of winning the lottery. You can't guarantee you're going to win it without rigging things.
Right.
And whatever you do, if you can figure out a way to make sure you win, they're going to make that illegal after you've won it.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so that was just a really interesting concept of how some of the smart, like mathematically inclined people in the US can use those skills to try to maneuver their way through the lottery system, so to speak.
Fortunately, I know brilliant people, but I don't think they I don't think they'd help me with that.
But yeah, so this was such a fun watch.
I'm glad you liked it.
Very excited to listen to Bailey Sarian. I definitely have to check out more of her stuff in the future.
Subscribe to Bailey. She's great. She does this every Monday. She does Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday, where she does a true crime documentary while she's doing her makeup at the same time. So something for everyone.
And she does this thing that I really like where she's fully made up, she's beautiful doing her thing, and then when the ads cut in, her sponsored ads, she's no makeup, she's wearing a tank top, so you can fast forward and see exactly when content picks back up based on what she looks like.
You know, I just scroll down. Oh, there it is. She's got her makeup put on.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I'm glad.
And honestly, like the concept of sudden wealth syndrome, it makes you really think about if you play the lottery at all, even a little bit, you should take 15 minutes and sit down and think about, okay, if I won, what are the steps I need to take
Mhm.
to keep myself safe and protect my money and, all of that stuff. Figure out now who you would go to for financial help. Don't hire the lady who shows up in your life and is like, hey, let
Right,
me help
right,
you
right.
because she's going to murder you.
You.
Hint, hint. Like, like Abraham Shakespeare would tell you, don't hire that lady.
Oh my God. And if you have a brother, look out for him. He could try to kill you at any time.
And stop getting married.
I know, right?
6 wives is too many.
Come on, bud.
But thanks for listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with your hosts, Rachel and Roxanne. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into sudden wealth syndrome and $1 billion curse. Join us again next week for a glimpse into another financial problem and a documentary all about it. If you enjoyed our show today, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us a review on your podcast app. Thanks for listening. See you again next week.
Bye for now.